Hello, my name is Paul Tarn. I'm the Chief Executive of Delta Academies Trust. We have a set of values in our trust which is based on people in the north of England being as good or better than other people elsewhere in the country. If you want an education that places you first in the queue of life, so you can stand at the front of the queue and say you've got the confidence to demand that, hey, hang on a minute, I'm going to that university, that's my job, that's my apprenticeship, then you need a really good start, and we aspire to give you that start. So our organisation places children and teachers at the heart of everything we do. If we have a really high quality teaching profession, we're a double teaching school hub for instance, so we train leaders, we train teachers, then we can assure the quality of education in our schools. And I think one of the things that we've come to realise is that children don't just need an academic qualification and an academic education, they need the confidence that goes with their experience of the wider curriculum, of the wider experience of a really high quality education. But what does education give you? And my philosophy is what education gives you is freedom. It gives you choice. When you're free, you've got a choice. You don't have to do something, but if you wanted to do something different, you could. So let me tell you something a little bit about the background and the academic outcomes that children can expect if they come to Delta Academy. So in primary, we're a very high performing organisation. We're one of the highest performing trusts in the entire country. And we're based in the north of England, which is a great thing. We've got 53 academies at the moment in our trust, and the outcomes for children are really good. So children are literate, numerate, and they have a broad and balanced curriculum when they're in our primary schools. And then they go on to our secondary schools, which also incidentally are some of the highest performing schools in the entire country. So if you look at the DFE performance tables, for instance, you'll see that we're right up there, right at the very top for the large trusts. So you've got the academic outcomes, we're very high performing, you get a good academic education. What we found though, and what the evidence tells us about the North, is that even when you do that, you don't then go on to some of the better jobs. You don't go on to some of the Russell groups or the other universities. What happens is that children get high academic outcomes and then they lack the confidence to go on and exploit that and to use that to build up that choice in their life and to build a tapestry around their future and their children's future. We believe that every student, irrespective of their starting point in life, should have a residential experience. But for some children, that doesn't happen, and that's not good enough. That's part of the rich tapestry, the rich environment, the rich curriculum that we want to offer. So we've built our own residential centre called Dallowgill. So we inherited it under trust. It was dilapidated and in a state of disrepair. It's a 5-star residential centre that's based around the environment. We believe that if we want to change the environment, if we want to change the world, if we want to make meaningful changes, then it starts through education, because that's where the values are established. One of the things that we recognise holds children back very often in some of our communities is literacy, the command of vocabulary and literacy. So it's about being able to command a wider vocabulary than you would normally be exposed to. Not because you want to show off, but because you want to understand the information that's being received. You want to be able to read between the lines in a piece of text so that you can get the nuances and the understanding. We like children to read for pleasure, to sit down with a book and say, oh, I've just read a really good book. Because when you read a book, other than watching a film, you're inside the mind of the hero, the person that you're reading about. In our trust, for instance, every child gets books. So we buy every child 3 books every year in primary that they can take home. Our children in primary now have access to a tablet, their own tablet in their own class that they can use at home. And we're looking at how we can extend learning opportunities into the home using online technologies such as Hegarty Maths, for instance, GCSE pods, the online learning materials that we produce. And as a trust, we employ a whole army of people. So we employ directors of education in primary, we employ phonics directors, we employ inclusion directors to look at the children who are just in that phase in their life, they're struggling. And they might be making some poor choices, and it's not about giving up on children, it's about nurturing children and about moving them on to the next step in life. So we have this technique that we call intervention by interaction, and it's not rocket science. It just means speaking to children, talking to children and celebrating what they do. It doesn't mean making it up. I thought you walked really well this morning, you didn't step on any cracks in the pavement. It's not that kind of intervention. It's to talk about, look, we've looked at what you did in maths and we've seen that you've got some gaps. And the gaps that you've got are around and we'll name 5 things. And we'll say, if you've got those 5 things mastered, that would work really well for you, because then you would accelerate your progress. And as children then get that 1-to-1 tuition, 1-to-3 tuition, can use the online materials, can use the online learning materials, we celebrate with them. Thanks for logging on. You're with us. It's great. I noticed that you've done that. How's it going for you? And that's the same in every single subject. So we celebrate those little incremental steps, incremental gains that children make, because you need to feel good about your learning. So here at Delta, we believe that education opens doors. If you think about why, you're in a queue for almost everything you do in life. You're in a queue that says there are other people competing for the same jobs, there are other people competing for the same places in university. And if you don't have an education, then you don't have those choices, those doors, those directions, those wonderful avenues that you could explore are closed to you. What education does is it guarantees that freedom and it opens doors.